welcome back to the show. I am joined today by my buddy Richard, who is legally and financially required to be here. We are paying him to be here.
A little camera shy, so I wouldn't be doing it without being paid. Just gonna be honest with that.
But no, he's really excited to be here. We're gonna cover some topics, some news, and some just opinions that you and I have. We're kind of known as the opinionated people in the shop. So we're gonna sit down and just kind of record a conversation that we have and cover some not super spicy things, but maybe some things that'll get a little warm. Dip our toes in that line a little bit.
Yep,
see what happens. Yep. So let's start off kind of a lukewarm topic. What do you carry? The people know I carry a Glock 19, an X300, and an RMR every day. I don't see a big point right now in changing that up. I'm able to conceal that pretty much wherever I go, so I run it. What do you do?
My go-to is also a Glock 19 with an X300.
You're going to see a trend.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. No RMR on it right now. I'm thinking about getting it milled. We'll see if that happens down the road.
Join us. Quit being gun owners.
Still not 100% on the red dot train for concealed carry purposes, but I'm still open to it.
So why?
Biggest thing there is I'm not convinced that first round on target in a defensive engagement range is faster with the red dot. Your target transitions, your range shots, absolutely hands down, no argument there that you are faster with a red dot. It's easier to do your transitions, easier to be precise at distance. But first round on target, I can pick my sights up as I'm escalating out to my shot placement.
Okay, counterpoint. You got a giant window that 5 to 7 yards, as long as your window is covering what you're trying to shoot, you're good.
Put them in the window. That will work for most your super close range engagements. I find for myself personally, I need a little bit more precision to keep me in line. If I have that full window, I'm going to be off a little bit. That's just for myself personally. Currently, I may train some more with red dots and get more proficient, but still rocking irons for my daily. But still, X300, Glock 19.
That's okay. That's good enough. You've got 2 out of 3, so that's a passing grade. That's 77. C's get degrees, right?
I'm just saying, sights are kind of a personal preference thing. As long as we have a solid gun and a solid white light source to work with, the rest of it's gravy.
Yeah, I think I can move past my RMR supremacy phase and agree with you there a little bit. What about medical? Do you carry any medical with you?
So I do try to keep a tourniquet and a small med kit on me at all times.
Yeah.
Generally, if I can, that's part of the reason that I choose the pants and setup that I wear is so that I can keep a couple of things on me that I wouldn't be able to do with other pants or something like that. Sure. So a couple of chest seals, tourniquet, either a soft tee or, pardon me, it is soft tee. Cut that. Either a soft tee or a Cat 7.
Cool.
The RATS tourniquets are tiny, but the problems with them are pretty immense. Guys cracking orbital sockets, losing limbs because they're too narrow.
Yeah.
They will save a life, but I would stick with a Cat or a softie if I could.
I agree. I'm a Cat guy. That's what I train with. That's what I carry when I'm working security, when I'm doing search and rescue type stuff. I have Cats, so that's just what I stick with. Yeah. Something I've been interested in are the new snake staff TQs.
Okay.
The ETQs, they're like super tiny, but they're still a full inch and a half width. I'm not convinced because they're not COTC approved yet.
Right.
So I haven't started carrying them, but some people that I know have, and they disappear into pockets. It's great. We both wear technical pants kind of on a daily basis. And we can get away with it with the lifestyles we lead and the jobs we work. But there are times where I do have to go into a more upscale environment that I can't wear these pants, where I have to wear a nicer jean or a khaki pant, where I just cannot carry a Cat or a softie, where those ETQs could be a good option. But again, they're not COTC approved. I'm not willing to trust it yet.
Another good alternative, and this one is a larger alternative, but it's a flatter, but the SWAT tees.
Yeah.
Those with that wider band, you can sandwich them down for maybe a small back pocket or something like that, so where it may not look as out of place, but it may be a little wider than you want to carry.
Yeah.
And then for the guys watching this, is your wardrobe will dictate what you can carry, where you can carry it. And you'll just have to make adjustments as you can.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I think we're doing a poll right now, or we did one last week by the time this airs, for new product development, one of the products we were thinking about doing is a IWB tourniquet pouch, something like that, and that's where something like that would come into play.
Yeah, it would definitely allow a little bit more freedom for people to carry medical, which is often underappreciated in our industry. We love to talk about making holes, but nobody likes to talk about plugging holes.
Right.
It's not sexy.
I had an instance a couple of years ago where I had two different, either individuals that I knew or close friends, lose limbs within a month period, and have to either have improvised tourniquets, or one of them had to use an actual tourniquet, and both, if not, one of them for sure would have lost his life without it, and the other one may have survived without it, but it was just one of those deals where it became very apparent that medical is needed for not just carrying the firearm, but having it for car accidents and other things that happen in life. Been a real big deal.
Do you keep more medical in your car?
Yes, so I generally will have a full extra set of at least 2, maybe more tourniquets, and a more extensive med kit in a bag in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like NPAs, needle Ds.
So I haven't gotten that far yet. More of just more gauze, more seals, minor medical.
Yeah.
So bandages, things like that.
So boo-boo kit as well.
Boo-boo kits as well, yeah. So chances are, splints, things like that. I've had to pull the splint out of my car at least once over the past 6 months, kind of deal, to get somebody wrapped up. So yeah, absolutely more medical in the vehicle.
Cool.
Kind of builds into levels of your EDC kit may not just be what is on you personally, but it may be what is in your path during your day.
Yeah.
So your vehicle, your workstation, things like that. That you keep more things.
You can stage things kind of around where you're going to be, and it really allows you to be a more prepared or more useful person at that time.
Absolutely.
Definitely, because everybody loves to think they're going to have everything they need right where they're at, but you can't walk around with a 70-liter rucksack every day.
Right.
You look goofy. So.
Yeah, you're going to look a little out of place, and again, part of concealed carry is maybe we're blending with our environment, as well as not just hiding our firearm, but blending with our surroundings.
For sure.
Another thing, besides our firearm and our medical to carry, things that I recommend, number one, always have your phone with you. If you're going to have your firearm, you have to have a way to call 911.
Yeah.
Right? If that ever gets used, first one to call the police is generally regarded as the innocent party.
Yeah.
So again, wait till the environment's safe, but you probably want to be the first one to make that dial for medical reasons, for legal reasons, whatever they may be. Other things I'm going to recommend highly, again, most of us carry our keys. Probably going to have to carry those. Your wallet with ID. If you're carrying your firearm, you better have some form of identification with either your concealed carry license or at least just
like
ID.
Driver's license,
It shocked me. I've been in the sales industry for a long time. We did a lot of gun transfers, things like that. How many people wouldn't have their ID on them when they'd be out and about in public?
Even more shocking, they wouldn't know they don't have it.
Yeah,
that scares me. But
try to pay attention to that stuff, guys. It's the little things that will make your life easier. Also, going to say some form of handheld white light.
Yep.
What that is can vary person to person, how big of a light you're willing to carry, how small of a light. As long as it's over 100 lumens, you're probably okay to use it for tertiary self-defense. The standard 20 years ago was 65, I believe, is what our original
giant mag lights.
Yeah. The 65 lumens was our intro. We are well past that. If you are going to carry a light every day, make sure it's going to be one that holds up to being carried every day. There are certain brands out there that may be more affordable. Some like to go boom, but carry one that's reputable, that's going to have at least some kind of a good warranty with it, and maybe more than 5 or 10 years of history. Pocket knife, That's one of those where I don't carry it necessarily as a defensive weapon, but they seem to always come in handy as a tool. But those are probably my big one. A lighter. I always carry a lighter on me. In a stressful situation, anytime you need to make a friend fast with somebody that may not be your normal crowd, a lighter's a great way to do it. People need them all the time. If you can have one handy to help a buddy out, it can be a positive thing.
For sure. Only thing that I would change about the list you gave is some kind of headphone. I carry AirPods with me every day. Number one, I work in a shop. Having that ear protection is nice. But also, if I'm just out and about and I don't really want to engage with people, tossing both my AirPods in and then turning the transparency mode on gives me my situational awareness while also being kind of a clear sign to people like, hey, he doesn't want to be bothered. I can't tell you how many times I know I am probably worse off for thinking this, but walking into Walmart and I see the little kids trying to support their football
Trying to
team.
extort some cookie money out of you? Yeah.
And I don't want to deal with that today. I just want to go get my frozen pizza and go be a fatty at home. I just toss those AirPods in and I'm able to walk by. It can also be a really good tool for like if you use public transport a lot. You can still have that situational awareness. You can hear what's going on around you, but you are not being regarded or addressed near as often. Just kind of a thought.
Can I ask a personal question, Tim?
Of course.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
26. So see, I'm about 37. There's a decade difference between the two of us, and that's one of those generational things that I don't think about as much. I hardly ever use any kind of a headphone. Back in the day, I was carrying a Walkman with big old something over the ears kind of thing, and so that just doesn't even enter my mind as a possibility, but that is an excellent point, because you want to be left alone. Generally, earpods are a great way to do that. Yeah,
it's a very, very clear sign to everyone around you, like, oh, he's not going to pay attention to me, even if I try to talk to him.
Really hard to bum a cigarette off a guy that isn't going to be able to hear you.
What? But everything else I agree on. I don't carry a lighter on me every day, but I've got one in my car. Lights, keys, phone, knife.
Plus, I like to be able to make fire. Just like most guys, we like to be able to.
We like fire. Fire's fun. I am not a die-hard Leatherman guy, but I find myself having seasons where I carry a Leatherman, just because having that little bit of an extra tool with me is really handy. But also, they're really bulky and they're hard to carry. And something I've discovered about myself, and I'm sure most of you guys have as well, if it's not comfortable, I'm not going to carry it.
I have found that to be true more and more as I've gotten older. What I would carry at 21, 22 versus what I carry today, very different. And I've also been through different seasons of, we'll call it waistline, and what you carry at different sizes will vary a lot as well. I normally would have carried some kind of a multi-tool or Leatherman. I've gotten out of practice. I got a little bigger, and I lost it. I will be honest, I can't find my multi-tool. But I do. If you can carry one on the outside of the belt and it's convenient, absolutely. A Leatherman or a SOG or some kind of a multi-tool goes a long way in just everyday assistance. I worked at a shop a couple years ago, and we had a gentleman in his late 50s come in, and he bought his first pocket knife and his first flashlight from us. He came back in within a month. The guy was a contractor, comes back in, he's like, how have I lived without these? He's like, I'm using both of them every day, multiple times a day. So just the convenience factor for some of that stuff on EDC.
Handheld lights are one of those tools that I went most of my life, I'd say probably 22 out of my 26 years, not carrying one every day. But then the second I did, I'm using it 5 times a day. Just trying to find stuff that I've dropped, or chasing squirrels, or just looking at deer in my front yard. Just It's awesome.
Yeah. So if you want to handicap yourself real quick, start carrying one of these items and then stop suddenly.
Yeah, yeah, you will realize
You'll miss it.
how far you've fallen. So jumping off of kind of what we carry, there's a theme between the both of us, and that's weapon lights. Anymore, it's not really a question about should you carry a weapon light. More of what I'm seeing is like, what kind of weapon light should you carry? We both like the X300. You have an Ultra, I carry a Turbo. But now the TLR7 HLX is out. It's a really strong argument to be made there to swap to that, because it is packing very, 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 very similar performance into it compared to a X300.
Right.
So why'd you land on the X300?
At the time that I started running weapons lights, it was X300 or TLR1.
Yep.
There were other, like Enforce was still doing one, but I wasn't 100% happy with how the button setup was. I ran a TLR1 for a little bit until I realized that it wasn't the problem with the light, but the activation switch on those just wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And when it became worth it to me to spend the extra $100, $150 to get a better activation switch, and I was able to afford that, I did switch over. The TLR1 is a great light, but the button is garbage.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody out there that's running that. It's just a poorly set up.
Yeah.
If I were doing it all over again today, the TLR7 series is killing it.
Yeah.
They're at a very affordable price point. They've got good performance, especially the HLX.
Yeah.
But the buttons are fixed and
1,000
you're
lumens still.
yeah.
I think like 25 or 30,000 candela.
Yeah, very high
Like
output.
Really, really competitive lights.
And they're smaller than an X300 even in the HLX setup.
Yeah.
So it would be very appealing to me to do that. I'm pot committed right now. I've got a Turbo, I've got a standard U, and I've got a Vampire.
Yeah.
They get rotated between. I've got another 19 and a 34 that they get rotated between.
Yeah.
So they're all X300s. It just kind of varies on what I need that for.
Yeah.
If we're running nods, that sort of thing.
For sure.
Other lights that are out there in the industry, if it's not Streamlight or Surefire right now, I'd have some questions.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to say that they're all going to be questions about reliability, but longevity of the brand.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of really good flashlights made. Some of them aren't around anymore.
You know, Cloud Defense and Modlight, who make really, really solid rifle lights. In fact, I carry a Mod light on my rifle. We'll talk about that in a second. They have pistol lights that they have made here recently that are just trying to be an X300, and Cloud Defense hasn't released theirs yet. That's another topic that I'm not going to touch. But the EPL has been promised for a while, and it looks really cool. But why would I buy that when I can just get an X300 Turbo and have the name Surefire behind it? I can have the reliability behind it. I can have the provenance behind it. I know that light's going to work whenever I need it. I don't know that about a Cloud or a Mod light in that case.
Or if that light's going to have a problem in 10 years,
Yeah.
which company am I more confident will be here
Yeah.
to service it at that point,
Yeah.
or to get replacement parts or some service?
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at, because I've seen a couple of companies come and go, or models come and go. When I first started carrying, Insight was doing a lot of stuff, really big in the light world. You hardly ever see their stuff anymore,
Right.
kind of deal.
Yeah. So something that we talked about off camera that you and I disagree on. When it comes to weapon light carry,
Okay?
you believe that if you're going to carry a weapon light, you should also train handheld techniques. This is not me saying you shouldn't carry a handheld. You should carry a handheld in addition to your weapon light. That is 100% the case. You can't always pull your gun out and use it as a light. Why do you think people should train, like the FBI standard and that type of stuff?
So the biggest reason that I try to recommend that, and again, some of this is based on your access to being able to learn those techniques properly or do that class. Yeah. Number one, it gives you a much better appreciation for being able to use your weapon light. I think it not only does it make you appreciate it a little bit better, but it almost seems to help you use your weapon light better when you can focus more on using it because you know what the alternative is and you know that you don't want to have to do that if you can help it. The other reason is if you're not carrying a flashlight in your EDC, then no, it's not worth learning any of those techniques because you don't have the gear or the equipment.
Yeah.
If you are carrying a flashlight and you are going to have it and it's a possibility you may need to implement it, I think it's good to have that skill set under your belt, or at least have a vague idea of how that works.
Yeah.
I will not be training every time I do low light classes. I'm not training my handheld techniques.
Right.
I try to train them every once in a while, but it's probably not going to happen every time.
Right.
Like I'm going to train the weapon technique more than I train the handheld.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think more knowledge, the more you can know how to do for redundancy purposes, is always good.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that culmination of the idea than the previous one we've had.
Right, right. You got the snippet version, and the snippet of you should know how to use a handheld light. Well, it's kind of varies whether how much that really impacts your life or how much that comes into play.
Yeah.
And then on your point, the KISS principle, if you only have to master one technique, if that's easier for you, it's all you have the time, ammunition, and access to train the weapon technique first.
Yeah. Fully agree. I think most people nowadays, number one, struggle to find ranges where they can do live fire, low light, and number two, finding the time. You know, I'm a new father, so my training regime in the past 6 months has been, well, past year really, has been turned on its head. Trying to find time to be, you know, a good father, not just a father, but a good father, and also train to the levels of being able to protect my family is really hard. So if I had to throw in training a tertiary, you know, I may need to be able to do the FBI offset while shooting and also maybe carrying my son, that's not something that is really applicable to me.
You brought up a very good point there, is if you have something in your offhand that you're protecting a loved one, etc., you just threw away all those handheld techniques. So weapon light techniques definitely going to be the focus if I were going to suggest one.
For sure. So we've talked about what we carry on our body. We've talked about the guns we carry. I float back and forth on keeping a rifle in my truck. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Oftentimes when I do, it's because I know I'm going to be parked in a spot that I can see my vehicle. Where I can see my vehicle all the time, because rifles get stolen out of trucks constantly. I just had a buddy had that happen to him. On the topic of rifles, what are your go-to accessories on a rifle?
Well, I'm going to circle back to that one, Tim, on that. I'm going to say that I personally struggle with that one as well.
Yeah.
You know, Tulster being located here in Tulsa, the Tulsa metro area, the stat right now currently is 1 firearm a day out of vehicles. Mm-hmm. And that's like every day. That has been pretty current for the past 5 years. That's 365 guns a year that are being stolen out of vehicles as a pretty set trend. So I will do everything I can at the moment to avoid having a gun in my vehicle that I can't have access to or control over. I wish that that weren't the case. I'd love to be able to have that force multiplier within reach or within a handful of steps away, but I'm just not comfortable doing it right now. I'm a statistic. I'm one of those numbers. My 21st birthday, I had a gun or two in the truck that got broken into overnight and stolen. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, it's kind of personal for me on that one that I've had it happen. I've contributed to that. I'm not proud of it, but it was a learning experience and I've moved on from there. So for me right now, the chance of it being needed versus the chance of it being stolen, it's outweighed.
Yeah. Which kind of begs a question. What do you think the likelihood of, if you had a rifle in your truck and a shooting happens, what's the likelihood of you deploying that Realistically.
Realistically, I mean, it's slim to none.
Yeah.
You're going to fight with what's on your body. It's kind of like, how you set up most of your kit. Even for gunfighters out there, it's the kit they have on them that they're using.
Yeah.
Resupply is great, but you're not doing that in the heat of the moment. It's what's on you. Generally, if you are in a situation where you're able to be a reactionary force instead of, where you're able to go stage just a little bit, local law enforcement has probably already responded to that situation. And if they haven't, now there's the legal question of if you're justified responding to something that you weren't immediately threatened by.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that there is no purpose or no reason to have a truck gun. Some of us live on farms, and it's not just for two-legged bad guys, but it may be for four-legged critters
Coyotes,
and things like that.
Mountain lions, bobcats, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that there's no spot for a truck gun, but I'm currently what's on my body, or if I'm going to have immediate control over where it's going to be either to the range, to my hotel room, to my new place that I'm going, etc., to the class. I don't want to leave it in my vehicle for any amount of time whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
But what's on it? So we were talking about white lights for our guns. I try to keep a white light on my firearm, on my rifle setup as well. That's probably one of my number one go-to accessories that I would say. I would say sights, but I feel like you should have some sort of sighting device on that gun. I wouldn't even consider it an accessory. It just has to be there. Whether that is irons, red dot, LPVO, one of them has to be on that gun.
You can't use it if you can't shoot it.
Right. You can't shoot it
if you can't see what you're hitting.
Going over the rest of what's on it, a lot of that isn't necessarily necessary, but I'm left-handed, so I keep as many ambidextrous parts on it as I can. I am well aware of how to run it without those accessories, but they make it easier.
It makes it easier,
right? They can just take a manipulation from having to switch hands or do something weird to hitting a button. Probably the most controversial accessory that I run on that gun is I run a bad lever.
Lots of people love to hate them.
So, with reason.
Love to hate them.
If you are a left-handed shooter running a bad lever and you try to disengage that with your thumb, stop. You know what doesn't fit in a trigger guard? Your palm doesn't fit in a trigger guard. Thumbs, things like that, guys are ADing those things all the time. NDing, really, they're not accidental, it's just negligence. So if you're ever running that as a lefty and you're trying to hit it, use your palm. That will never fit in your trigger guard. You will never accidentally pull your trigger that way. So with that accessory, it is philosophy of use. How you use it is important. There are dangerous ways too, and just bear that in mind.
I am right-handed shooter. I was blessed by being God's favorite. So I don't have to worry about, a bad lever to make my manipulations even possible. So that's a really interesting thing to think. I've never had to think about using just the palm of my hand on the bad lever instead of,
trying to use a tactile or...
If I were to use one, I'd use my trigger finger, just bump down. So
straight.
I'm not making any sort of backwards movement. That's really interesting. I also see on yours a IR device. You have nods.
Yes, I mean the IR laser. If you're not running night vision, there's no point to it. Even a Viz laser has very limited use on a firearm if you're not right. That one being said, I have a pretty strong opinion on lasers on handguns. For 95% of what people think they're useful for, they're not. Their number one training aid on a handgun is trigger manipulation. If you are dry fire practicing, a laser is a phenomenal tool that can help. For live fire, the only thing that you can really use it for is awkward shooting positions where you physically cannot get your sights in front of your face. Anytime that you are using that gun and your options are iron sights or laser when presenting, you're going to find your iron sights faster, more consistently than you will ever try to find that dot. So awkward shooting positions, it can be useful. How often are we getting into those? Not very
There
often.
could be an argument made if you can't get your sights in front of your face, you shouldn't be taking a shot. But, yeah.
You are responsible for every round that you let off.
Yeah.
Period. Like full stop, you're responsible for them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there is no scenario where you have to let a round fly when you are not 100% set up on your sights, but you're responsible for it. You need to know you're responsible
Yeah.
for it. You better have a really good argument for why you took that shot if you take one out of position.
Yeah.
So on a rifle, the only really, I mean, you can still use that as a training aid. We don't see as much of a use for that because you're through points of contact.
Yeah.
But your 2 spots there, again, sighting device for using with nods, because sometimes getting a cheek weld on your gun with nods is next to impossible.
Yeah.
We have to do a lot of upright shooting.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can use them for with a Viz laser, target identification. But again, finding a dot at distance
It's hard.
is very difficult.
Because most civilian class lasers
Right.
are kind of trash. Let's be real.
Especially on the Viz spectrum.
Yeah.
On the IR spectrum, I haven't noticed as
They can
much.
be okay. Yeah.
For me, the ranges that I have used civilian spec lasers at, plenty bright.
Yeah.
I've never been like, man, I really wish this were brighter. Not even once have I. Sometimes I wish they were dimmer.
Yeah.
But never once have I been worried about the power output. But it's on the Viz spectrum, because of varying backgrounds, that's a real problem,
Yeah.
right? You just don't see them as well.
I agree.
My sight setup's a little bit different on this one. I have kind of redundant sights on that gun. I run a couple of different ARs, and I set them all up exactly the same, other than pretty much optic. So my iron sights are all set up the same, whether it's my DMR or my SBR.
Yeah.
So that's why that one has redundant sights on it. Are they necessary with a red dot? No. Even if that doesn't come on, we had that conversation earlier. If they're in the circle,
Yeah.
shoot them.
You're probably pretty fine. Yeah.
So, optic-wise, how much or how little you spend on an optic is up to you.
There is a baseline. There is a baseline.
Yeah. There are going to be trade-offs. When you get
Yeah.
super cheap, you're going to run into issues.
Yeah.
If you can afford an aim pointer and EOTech,
Hard to go wrong.
Yep.
Especially with like the RDS and the what's the other one they just came out with? No, not just came out with the RDS and the Pro.
Yeah.
That's like
Yep.
$400 retail.
Right.
That is a lot of optic for $400. That is a ton of optic that you can get for realistically not that much more than say a Holosun or something on that cheaper side of things.
Right. If you are going with a cheaper optic, if you can't afford to buy one of the nicer ones, Holosun is the baseline. That is the lowest cost optic that I would really go with. That's just a personal preference there. I know that Tim has been in the industry for a while. I have been in retail sales and firearms accessories since 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
And the things that I have seen definitely lend to spending a little bit more money on your optic than you would want to. That's probably one of your biggest price points that you're going to want to spend money on.
Yeah. I've seen many a sight mark returned because people take them out and they won't hold zero brand new out of the box.
I mean, that's if it turns on when you get home. Like,
Yeah.
There are a couple of brands that I would steer very clear of.
Yeah.
Again, on that more echelon tier, EOTech, Aimpoint, and on that baseline tier, Holosun is as good as it's going to get for that kind of price point range.
I love to hate SIG, but the Romeo 5 is a killer $150, $175 optic.
The SIG electro-optics, again, I don't know where they're being manufactured, but they're probably not too far away from where Holosuns are being manufactured. And they're in that same tier where you're about the same price point. And so far, I've seen slightly better results from Holosun, but the SIGs have been right there neck and neck with them for their optics.
I'll say this, I haven't seen a SIG show up dead from the factory. I have seen Holosuns come out of the box dead, or come out of the box and have the glass fall out. I haven't seen that with a SIG.
I've seen it once or twice with the SIGs.
Okay.
It's one of those anecdotal experience on those. a lot of things look at your price point.
Yeah.
Similar country of origin, similar price point, probably going to be similar performance
They look very
regardless of
similar,
whose names on them. Yeah, and some of them you'll start to notice. There's a rash right now of affordable, low power variable optics and just standard power variable optics.
Yeah.
That all have very similar housings
Yeah.
and glass structures and
The turrets all
knobs.
look the same.
Yeah, and you start to put a couple of things together that they're probably all made at the same factory.
Yeah, it's almost like they're made on different lines with a new stamp.
Yeah, maybe slightly different technical specs that are being held for those companies.
Yeah.
But by and large, look at your country of origin on a lot of your optics.
Yeah.
A Chinese optic will always be a Chinese optic. A Philippine optic will always be a Philippine optic.
Yeah.
And then if you're trying to get into LPVOs and glass quality, Japanese stuff is probably your
Yeah.
upper echelon right now.
Japanese glass is hard to argue with.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to argue with.
Yeah.
Even, like the Razer HD line from Vortex uses Japanese glass. It's just assembled here in America.
Yeah.
So we've covered sighting systems, lights. I see a can on yours. I think we can all agree cans are cool.
Cans are awesome.
Really, I would argue if you're going to shoot in any sort of enclosed space are necessary. I think they can lead to much higher lead levels if you're shooting at any sort of real number.
Right.
But most people aren't going to really have that problem because they just can't afford to shoot that much.
Right. If I'm doing a large regimen of shooting, if I'm taking a class or something like that, I'm not doing it with a can.
Yeah.
As nice as it would be for the hearing protection aspect, you're correct. The extra lead exposure and then just the amount of filth that it puts back into the gun aren't worth it to me to go to a 500 to 1,000 round class or something like that, or a super heavy range day. Not worth it.
Yeah.
I will use the can to verify where my point of impacts are with or without the can, and then I will use it for any purpose that I'm using the gun for that is not necessarily a training purpose. But if I'm going to do a heavy training regimen, absolutely not. I'm not running the can. Not worth it to me. The trade-off's not there. That is an accessory that is fun, is cool, is not the end-all, be-all. If you cannot afford one, don't worry about it. Get a good flash hider, roll with it.
Yeah.
And you know what a good flash hider is? An A2.
It's got an A2 bird cage right there.
Yeah, it is really hard to beat the performance. Buddy and I, about 5 or 10 years ago, we went out and we took some of the top flash hiders, brakes, and a bunch of stuff, and took a wrench out with us and did a bunch of night shooting and just casually filmed it. And the performance of the A2, as far as flash hiding, fantastic.
Yeah.
For it coming free on most guns, or let's say you have to spend $5 or $10 on one, you're getting better performance out of that than most any other accessory.
Yeah.
Are there better out there? Yes, but you're going to spend 10 times the money on that piece. Triggers, I might spend a little money on my trigger. You don't have to. A mil-spec trigger, if you can run a mil-spec trigger, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do it. I dropped a Geisley into mine because I got spoiled. And, it's one of those deals. Once you get spoiled, it's really hard to go backwards.
I'm a mil-spec guy. I think if you are going to, for most people, if you get a very average mil-spec trigger, that'll be more than enough for you.
Yeah.
If you get one of the heavier ones on the 7.5 to 8 pound range, of course, that's near unusable. You will really benefit from a nicer trigger. But if you get a true 4.5 to 5.5 pound mil-spec trigger, I think you're fine. I don't think that I don't think you'll see the benefit of swapping triggers out for most people for an average fighting carbine.
On triggers, you're going to get what you pay for when you swap them out.
Yeah.
There are a lot of brands out there that are selling triggers that I would say are less than 100% reliable, or less. I just wouldn't feel safe having some of them in my gun.
Yeah.
Do your own research, come to your own conclusions on that one. The reason I went with a Geisley 2-stage trigger is I shoot a Glock.
Yeah.
It is not necessarily a single or a two-stage trigger, but there is a slack out, a wall, and a break.
Yeah.
So my mind grasps onto that. With that two-stage trigger, I get the same thing, where I get my slack out to a wall and a break.
Yeah.
I stick with the heavier series from Geisley.
Yeah.
I only use their 4.5 overall pulse weights. The 3.5s are too light for me. I think that is borderline dangerous to be that low on your poundage in your duty or hunting or whatever that firearm ends up being. If it's not a bench rest gun or a purely competition gun, I personally won't dip below 4.5.
Yeah, I fully agree. I am not a fan of super light triggers. That's one reason I have struggled to kind of adopt the Echelon. I've got a lot of friends who have bought one and they shoot really well. That trigger is just too light for me.
There's a handful of those guns out there, especially in the handgun world, where the triggers are too light for me.
The PDP is another great example of that. Wicked gun, the PDP metal is awesome for competition, but because I carry the same gun all the time, I've got that Glock, whether I'm doing concealed carry, working security, or shooting competition. I can't be swapping all the time, and I can't have that super light trigger in my stuff.
And that may be entirely on us. That may be me not being able to adapt to a different training regimen, or being a bull in a china shop, where I'm going to pull that trigger like it's my heavy trigger, regardless of if it is or not.
Yeah.
So I try to stick with that. Let's see, Tim, I see you've got an EOTech on yours.
Carry 512. It's nothing fancy. Runs double A's, which I like. Sierra 123s are cool. They're just expensive, and I have double A's all the time. I do keep spare Sierra 123As for handhelds and that type of stuff. And once I get nods, I will upgrade that to like an EXPS 3.
Right.
But right now, I don't need night vision performance because I don't have that capability.
Right.
So I don't have a night vision laser. I don't have a night vision compatible optic. I don't have an IR light on there. It's just this is a white light gun because that's what I do. I shoot white light. That's what I can do. Something we haven't touched on that I think, for me, outside of sights, is the most important accessory on your gun.
Okay.
Sling.
I was like, I feel like I know where you're going with that one.
I think the sling, outside of white light, should be your first purchase. I think if you are going to have the gun, you should be able to carry the gun and having it retained to your body. I've got a T-Rex arm sling. You have a Magpul.
So I've run the MS3 sling.
Yeah.
The convertible sling for me is where it's at. 2-point slings are great. If I weren't running a convertible and I could only run one single or 2-point, I'd run 2-point if it was my only option. Convertible I prefer. Running that gun and being able to transition and use it, for me, is easier with a single point.
Yeah.
However, if you are standing around with that gun or at rest at all or doing any kind of movement where you are not using that gun to fight with, 2-point, you won't get any more comfortable.
Yeah.
It has to be a 2-point for... You're going to hate your life if it's a bungee or a single point.
Yeah.
So that's why I run the convertible. That's why I run the Paraclip. They make a QD version that is cooler, but if you ever try to manually move from your front position to your rear position with that QD, you'll find out very quickly that that non-static point becomes a real bear to fight with.
Yeah.
The Paraclip, at least you can kind of catch it, hook it, and that little bit of movement you get, you can overcome.
Yep.
So that's why I run that sling, 2-point sling only. If I could do one or the other, it would be 2-point over single point.
Yep. I don't train shoulder transitions often.
Okay.
I subscribe to the if you're having to shoot around a corner, you're never going to be as good with your weak hand as you are with your strong hand. So it's worth it to take a little more risk to expose yourself a little more. So that's not something I have to really, I'm not concerned about. So that's why 2 points instead of a convertible or a single point sling is for me. Also,
I like it.
Doing my transitions to handgun, I don't want to hit myself And,
There's some anatomy that we will have to fight on that.
Yeah.
That definitely gets chucked around the corner.
Yeah.
It gets chucked around the corner.
you got to get it out of the way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have a law folder, right? Or a folder of some kind.
Yeah. I went with the law because I've played with a couple of the other ones on the market. Number one, do not get the Chinese copies. Those things they'll get you killed.
Yeah.
The aluminum ones, in my experience, have been less than great. They will be cheaper than the law, but they're less than great. There's a reason that the law can demand the price they do.
Yeah. Everything else is trying to be the law.
Right.
Really.
Biggest reason I did that was for transportation purposes. As far as usability, I'm not ever going to buy the conversion to be able to shoot it with it folded. I want my stock, period.
You can shoot it once.
Yeah, you can do it once.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Do not do that.
Let's go ahead and preface that.
Yeah.
No, that's purely for transportation and storage reasons. Do you have to have something like that on your gun? Absolutely not. It just made it convenient. I'm kind of picky on not just the clothes I wear, but the cases and things like that. I may have it in public, and the case that I prefer to carry it in public would require it to be folded or disassembled in some sort.
Yeah.
I chose to fold.
Yeah. Cool.
One thing I will touch on that is on my Optic, the mount height.
Yeah.
That's one I'm also fairly strongly opinionated on. Standard iron sights on an AR are somewhere around 1.5. I think it's 154, 156, somewhere in that ballpark of sight height, because that's where your cheek sits.
Yeah.
That's where your Optic should be at, unless you are running it with gear that would require you to change it.
Yeah.
So if you are not running nods, if you're not running body armor, if you're not running a helmet, keep your sights at 1.5.
Yeah.
You will get better cheek wielding performance out of your gun. The heads-up shooting techniques that are being pushed right now, again, we're pushing them because we got a lot of guys running body armor in either law enforcement or military capacities, so it's kind of been an adaptation. So if your gear that you're wearing requires you to go higher, do it. But if you can avoid it, in my opinion, you will get better performance out of an 1.5 inch, 1.56, 1.54 mount than you will out of a skyscraper.
Yeah, I think 193 is a perfect middle ground. If you have to have something a little higher, but like a 226 super high skyscraper mount, do you really need that? I struggle to say yes.
Yeah, the only reason that's got a 193 on it is I tried shooting it with the 154 with nods, and I was like, oh, this helmet strap is now like that extra 1/4 inch is why I can't get my face behind my gun now.
Yeah, exactly. I think 226, if you're wearing a gas mask and nods, there's an argument there.
Yeah.
But for 99% of people, especially in the civilian world, that's not a concern.
We get to that point, we're going to start using passive. I'm going to start using passive aiming techniques like the IR laser or vision laser at that
100%.
point. But yeah, it's a lot of it is dictated by what else you're running gear wise, and if you're running just normal civilian clothing, 154.
You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look as.
It's not cool. You didn't spend as much money on the mount, but no. I do notice you're running an Ambi charging handle as well on yours.
I have a Raptor. It makes some of the manipulations easier, especially like locking the bolt back. I don't have to do a weird pull and then. I do notice that it gets snagged on my kit every once in a while, which is kind of annoying. I want to try some others, maybe like the Geisley Airborne or something like that with maybe a little bit smaller latch. I would love to find one that has a big latch on the outside and a small latch on the inside. But I don't know of any of those. If you guys know, please let me know.
Drop them in the comments.
I will be spending money on it. But yeah, I run Ambi on that. The rest of my gun isn't set up Ambi, just because, again, I'm right-handed. I don't need to.
Back to that transition thing.
Yeah.
I've done more transition training. As a lefty, we get forced into situations more where I'm going to have to use my gun right-handed per se than you might have to left-handed.
Right.
Part of that is also I've had to use it more, so I'm a little more proficient with it right-handed than I would be otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to jump into a new segment where we answer some questions. For this first round, we got some from around the shop, but going forward, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Let me know what you want me to answer. You may not like my answer, but you'll get it.
That's why I'll give my answer. It's probably going to be real similar to Tim's, though.
You're not going to
He's not going to like it either.
So I'm going to pull the first question out of our handy-dandy ammo can of greatness. It also out of the way. Let's see what we got. I'm scared. Are you scared?
I'm a little nervous
I'm
about this.
very scared.
Because I know who these questions came from.
Yeah. The guys
His
love to
initials
troll
are-
us. The guys love to troll us. What's your best hunting story, and what firearm did you use?
Oh.
I'll let you lead.
Oh, man. There's a couple of good ones. I'm actually going to tell my best hunting story. I didn't take the shot. And I couldn't tell you what rifle the guy that took the shot was. But we went out. This was our second or third time going out together. A buddy of mine had never gotten a deer before.
Yeah.
You know, we're grown. I've gotten a couple. He just hadn't gotten one yet. We go out to a very large piece of public property that we can see 1,000 yards in almost any direction. It's a buck only area. Has to be antlered, can't be antlerless, so cuts down on our chances significantly.
Yeah.
We spot a deer at like 950 yards. He does not have the capabilities with his gun, much less would it have been an ethical shot to do at that distance. And our choices are, do we get up and try to move to it? We have a fairly good position we're at. Long story short, over the next 30 minutes, we watched this deer walk in, and he takes his shot at 40 yards. So it came in like it was on a string, and he got to make a shot at like 40 yards, dropped it, and it was a good day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that was cool just to be able to have that where, we're never going to get that guy. He's so far away. Well, he's right here now.
Yeah, now he's at my feet.
Yep.
That's really cool. I am historically not a hunter, so I don't have any real good stories. I've shot one deer in my life. It was a doe. I'm a meat guy. I don't care about antlers. I just want the meat. So my answer's boring, but I shot her with a crossbow. It was great.
Awesome.
It's probably cheating for you archery guys out there, but that's okay. It crosses over. I shoot that all the time. I can shoot a crossbow just like that. It's great.
The regiment that it takes for me to stay good with a bow versus a crossbow, I'll cheat as well. I get it. I just, with limited time and resources, I'm going to dedicate it more towards firearm training than archery training.
Yeah.
So crossbow's right up my alley as well.
Not to say that getting shot by a crossbow would not suck. That's terrifying. It's a 2-inch knife flying through the air. But that's moving a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
Let's do another one.
Did it say who that question was from?
It does not say.
Well, thank you, Eric, for your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Wow. Let's see.
Oh, no. All right, this sounds like a good question. We may or may not answer it.
What is the dumbest firearm advice you've ever received?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is...
We have both worked behind the gun counter. I'm sure we have heard a lot. How spicy
How
do
much
we
you?
want to,
Yeah, that one is one that. So, I'm gonna go with one for me was carrying while heavy set is easier than carrying while thin. Is the worst piece of advice. I got fairly heavy here recently, and carrying with more of a gut was way more difficult than carrying skinny. So that was probably the biggest piece of misinformation that I got from myself that was detrimental, because I didn't really pay that much attention to it. Nope, it was way easier if I kept my waistline thinner.
Yeah. We could go with the classic 22 kills more people every year. Sure it may, but I'm not carrying it.
There's a big difference between lethality and, terminating a life versus stopping a threat.
Yeah.
They do not necessarily mean the same thing.
Yeah.
The threat may be stopped by termination, but there are switches and timers in the human body, and 22 is great at starting timers.
Yeah.
Generally, for self-defense, you want that to stop now.
You want,
so
to,
you
you
have
want
to
to
be
flip
able
the
to do it.
switch,
Yeah.
not start a timer.
And the larger the projectile, the higher chance of you stopping.
The bigger the hole, the more damage it's going to cause.
Energy transfer, all of that comes into play. So yeah, 22 may be a lethal round. It may be responsible for more deaths throughout history, but it is not a stopping round, a round that I would consider good for self-defense.
And this doesn't even take into consideration the fact that it's a rimfire cartridge. By nature, rimfire is not reliable.
Right,
You're
right.
not going to
The
get
chances of the gun
even
going
powder
off.
coatage. Yeah, you're not going to get that, or primer coatage in the rim. You're not going to get that. We could go real spicy, and I think that the perpetuation of the idea that women should carry small guns or wheel guns is the most dangerous thing that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Not only do small guns and wheel guns have very particular training aspects that they have to do, but wheel guns specifically, when something goes wrong, it's not an easy fix. Your gun is out of the fight, and to give that to a woman who, historically speaking, there are some great female shooters out there, but historically speaking and generally speaking, women don't train as much as men. It's a bad idea. Give her something that is mid-size and a 9mm, box fed, like.
That one in general, revolvers and shotguns, everyone points to as the guns that anyone can use.
Yeah.
While that is technically correct, anyone can pick up a pump-action shotgun or a revolver and generally figure out how to use it very rapidly.
Yeah.
The problem with those two weapons is those are also two of the weapon systems that are the hardest to master.
Yeah.
So anybody can use it, but to use it well and be proficient with it takes way more work than 99% of the semi-automatic firearms out there.
Yeah.
When choosing a weapon for a loved one or a female, get them involved.
Yeah.
Have them involved in the process as much as possible. Take yourself out of it as much as possible. If you have the opportunity, absolutely get some live fire with
Definitely.
the guns you're looking at.
Yeah.
Please. That it doesn't normally cost a lot to go to an indoor range and rent a couple of firearms. Approach any of your local instructors if they have any programs specifically for women. That is a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, box fed, generally the same gun that you would buy for a man is probably going to end up being the same firearm for her. It just may be the grip itself may be a smaller grip module or something like that. Like with the Smith & Wessons, or Walther's doing a lot right now where they're making the same basic firearm with either a slightly smaller grip module, but it's not affecting the performance or shootability of that firearm.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to shout out Frontier Justice. They're great friends of us. They have an awesome indoor range here in town. They have an awesome rental selection. Go shoot them. And that's not just for women. If you're buying your first handgun, go shoot.
Period. Mm-hmm.
Go shoot them. You're gonna learn more on the range than you ever will listening to us.
Right, right. Anyone can do a tabletop review and tell them what works for them until you experience that. Obviously, listen to some of the professionals, at least as far as getting a baseline about what that gun, maybe reliability, maybe, again, if you have local instructors in your area, your local firearm ranges, check the Google reviews, things like that, to get an idea of whether they're going to be reputable. But there is no substitute for hands-on experience.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Here, Richard, you pull this.
Let's see what we got in here. Wow, that is a good one. In a self-defense scenario, what non-shooting skills are just as important? Tim, I want to hear your answer on that one.
I'm not going to include medical. I think medical is enough, is ingrained enough with shooting that it counts.
Okay.
Communication. Communication. Being able to communicate with either the people that are around you at that time or with law enforcement directly is going to be massive. Being able to clearly articulate what just happened is going to, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, the first person to call is generally regarded to as being innocent and correct. So
check with either, if you don't have any kind of prepaid legal or self-defense insurance, things like that, or a lawyer, check with those sources. But the general information from most of those is going to be give as little information as clearly as possible as you can, articulating that you were the party that was being attacked.
Yep.
But the particulars of the shoot, whatever ends up happening, generally you'll probably want to wait 24 hours to give a actual statement and confer with your lawyer before giving that. But communication is critical, especially if there's any kind of injury that kind of rolls into the medical stuff. Who's hurt, where they're hurt, what attention they need. Is the scene safe for medical to arrive? That sort of thing. I guess mine would be similar to that, where you don't have to be super physically fit, but there is going to be a level of fitness that you want to have for self-defense. Generally, if you're close enough to a bad guy that they can touch you and try to get your firearm, you want to be able to maintain possession of that firearm or defense without it.
100%.
So those are probably two of the biggest skills, either some sort of physical fitness or self-defense. If you can get actual training, do mixed martial arts or some sort of classes, absolutely do that. Combatives, some of the ranges will have combatives classes, things like that, and then communication.
100%.
Those are great skills.
Cool.
Good question.
Good question. Thanks, Tyler.
All right. Okay. All right. What is the smallest change that you've made with your shooting that has made the biggest impact? So that one is extremely open-ended. There's a million things that both Tim and I have changed since we first picked up a handgun to where we are today, and that's just handgun, not to mention rifles or anything else.
I think the biggest thing that I changed was thinking about pulling the trigger straight back to my elbow. I would find myself adding a little bit of a bias, because I've got fairly large hands, so I've got a large lever here. So I would love to add a little bit of a left pull when I was pulling the trigger, instead of really getting that nice straight back to the frame of the gun and into my elbow. It was just a small mindset thing. It's not even like really changing how I'm pulling the trigger. It's changing how I think about it. And it's just pulling it straight back and really focusing on that.
Yeah. No, that is a huge one. It is trigger pull is one of the biggest parts of firing any weapon system. For me, it was getting a comprehensive class. I had been around lots and lots of instructors, had lots of instruction, but never taken a full class until the last 5 or 10 years. So for 10, 15 years, I'd been getting bits and pieces at a time, probably all great information, but because it wasn't presented in a single package, I just didn't grasp it in the way that I should have at the time. So finally taking a comprehensive class from a competent and well-regarded instructor, that was probably my biggest thing. So it sounds like a huge one, but that was just a little thing, because I probably got the same information that I'd gotten in bits and pieces over the previous 10 years, but seeing it as a whole really kind of put perspective on it.
Just changed how you thought about it. Let's do one more.
One more?
I'm feeling a little spicy. I want something a little
I want to see.
Let's see what we got.
This is one, I knew this one was in here. It was given to me ahead of time. This one is, tell us one gun myth you can debunk in 30 seconds.
One gun myth I can debunk in 30 seconds.
Yeah. For me, we've actually already touched on it. For me, it was going to be the revolvers. Revolvers don't jam. That is 100% incorrect. Cylinder drag is a real problem, and I've experienced it firsthand. And when that shuts a revolver down, it's not something that you can tap, rack, bang. That gun is done until it cools pretty much completely. So mine was revolvers don't jam. Nope, they will, and when they do, they're done.
You don't have to aim a shotgun.
That's another really good one.
Take it out, put your buckshot in, and pattern it at 5, 7, 10 yards. if you're shooting reliable or not reliable, reputable buckshot, you're getting
Yeah, flight
patterns.
control at 5 to 7 yards
Yeah.
is a hole.
Yeah, you're getting a really tight pattern. You still have to aim it.
Yep.
There's really no, and if you're using birdshot, why? You're not getting it really any effect on target.
No, the penetration is not there.
Right.
Again, back to the switches and timers. Birdshot does neither. It does not. I'm not saying that it can't be lethal. If you mess up and hit an artery or something, you might get a lethal shot in.
Yeah.
However, it is not consistent enough performing, and it generally won't do either a switch or a timer. It's
Yeah.
generally useless.
Yeah.
Especially
Especially out of defensive length shotgun barrels.
Right.
18.5-inch barrels.
that
You're
are
not
cylinder
getting
bore.
anything.
Yeah, it's just not patterning it tight enough with that. For buckshot, if you're shooting, flight control stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Shoot super tight, and you can use it out to 35, 40 yards and still get reliable performance out of it. But you do have to aim a shotgun. My anecdotal on that is in my early 20s, I had private property that I could shoot on, and in a safe environment, I staged a shotgun, laid down a sleeping pad, had a known target,
Yeah.
woke myself up from a dead sleep, tried to put rounds on that target. Performance was less than I would have liked it to
Yeah,
be,
that's
and
not good.
it was a very quick learning experience to go, oh, no, you still have to
Yeah.
aim. Like, it's not even, I was trying to aim, but in a tired state, just waking up. I made hits. They weren't good hits,
Yeah.
but they were hits made, but
Yeah.
it definitely put it in perspective that nope, it is not. It's not that magical. You'll hit what you're pointing at.
Yeah.
Nope, you got aim.
You're gonna aim down this hallway, and everything in the stand is gonna be blown away.
Right.
Yeah, that's not realistic. It's not. That's Hollywood, 100%.
I think the moral of most of these is get out and use your gear, train with
train.
it, test it, and see what the performance is.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, man, Richard, thanks for sitting down and talking to me, or talking with me. There's been a lot of really good insights and some anecdotes that you have thrown in here, and I think people are going to enjoy it.
We really hope so.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. We would like to do it again. Please let us know if you have any comments or questions about it. Again, we want to hear questions from you, so please, in the comments.
Well, thank you, Tim, for having me on this. I appreciate you guys twisting my arm. Everybody that talked me into doing this, I've, again, been traditionally anti-camera, but been a really enjoyable experience.
Good.
Love to do it again. Again, we want to hear from you guys on this. Get us as many questions as you can. We're probably not going to get to all of them, but we'll answer as many as we can on air. I'm also here on the Tulster customer service team, so any of those messages you send in through the website, things like that, we try to get those answered as well.
For sure, 100%. Guys, thanks as always. Remember, click like, subscribe, comment, and carry with confidence.
Woo! All right, well, that's a wrap.
Yeah.